Everybody, thank you for tuning in. We've got Cherry Chan here. We're going to discuss today the federal government's economic response plan, answer any questions that people may have. We have a pile of questions already compiled. But Cherry, why don't we start? Can you just give us a quick intro of who you are?
My name is Cherry Chan. I am a chartered professional accountant, licensed accountant. My practice primarily deal with real estate agents and real estate investors. So this is the reason why I would be able to speak from experience perspective. I am still a licensed realtor, but I don't practice real estate at all. I have my license, and that is a unique angle that I can apply some of these COVID-19 benefit to real estate agents.
Fantastic. So basically, I'm just going to throw it out there and say you're probably the best expert that the real estate industry should be talking to right now, because you understand how we operate, because you are a realtor yourself. Even though you're not practicing, you understand what goes on in the background for us. And then you bring the accounting side. So hopefully you can clarify some of, the information. So let's just jump into it. I guess to start, we've got the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit.
Yeah.
How can that apply to us realtors or any of our staff or even broker owners? Can you just kind of jump in and maybe try and explain some of it?
So the Canada Emergency Response Benefit is a famous $2,000 a month benefit that the government came out very early on to help people who are suffering from lack of work or being laid off or unable to work as a result of COVID-19. They have to stay home to take care of their kids, they have to stay home to take care of their parents, or they have to stay home to get quarantined, and they are not allowed to work. And that's the whole backbone of this whole program here, to help other people, to offer the $2,000 to help Canadians who are not allowed to, who can't work as a result of COVID-19. To qualify, basically, you have to have a loss of income, or you can make income, but it has to be up to a maximum of $1,000 for the entire month. So $1,000 is really nothing, essentially. One of the criteria to qualify is that you also need to report at least $5,000 of self-employed income in 2019. It could also be dividend income. It could be self-employed income. It could be employment income. But as a minimum, you need to show $5,000 in 2019, or 20 weeks before March 18th. So if you just started working, you got laid off because of this, you started working earlier on and you show $5,000 income, you would still qualify. And this is what the whole program is. That's the qualification. Now, you need to stop working for 14 consecutive days before you would be able to go into the government system to ask for money. As a real estate agent, it gets complicated because real estate agents, like you guys, we all do deals, not me personally, but realtors would do deals in January and it doesn't get closed until maybe April. Or you did some deals in April, but the deals don't get closed until now. And that's where the problem is. There is the cutoff issue in terms of, hey, like I'm getting a paycheck now, but I haven't been working for a month. So am I eligible to claim the COVID-19, the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit? Now, using an example, let's say you stop working as soon as the COVID-19 hit because you have kids at home. Now, so you don't do any deals and you don't have any closings, say for the first period from March 15 to April 11. You can claim the March 15 to April 11 period $2,000. Now you have a closing on April 12th. Technically, you can't claim any benefit for at least for that period, because you have a closing that you're receiving a check on April 12th. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes total sense.
Make sure that, yeah. Now let's say for the rest of the time, you know that you have no closing from period 3 onwards, May 10th to June 6th or June 7th, then you can reapply for May 10th to June 6th benefit. But the period that you have the closing on, you would not be able to, you would not unfortunately be able to collect the money. Now, then it goes to some, I've been on a couple of calls with real estate agents before. One of the common questions that was being asked was, hey, like I have an active listing, but because of COVID-19, active listing is not doing anything right now. Some of you are still doing deals, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I've got so many clients coming in, reaching out saying that they are doing deals, but I have also the opposite side of clients that are not doing anything. They have a listing, active listing. So are they considered working per se? Well, we as an accountant, I use the measuring stick of closing day to determine whether you're working or collecting income or not.
Okay.
So if you have an active listing that doesn't go anywhere, it's not closing. It's not closing like it just doesn't, it's not closing during these periods. It's not closing probably until, who knows, maybe August. Then during this time, as long as you don't have any other closing, I would argue that you would still be able to eligible to claim the CDRB benefit, the $2,000, provided that obviously you don't have any other deal closing, right?
Okay. Makes total sense. When, like, has the government given any more clarification on how they are going to determine those things, or is it we're still kind of in this? Like you said, you're kind of, you have to make assumptions here.
You unfortunately you do. I did get one real estate agent who came out and say, hey, there was a clarification that it's based on deposit date. It's not based on your closing day. So can you clarify? The reality is, like, depending on the brokerage that you work with, right? Some brokerage, your closing day is, let's say, is April 29th today.
Yep.
And it gets deposited, they get their money and everything, the funds get released to you as the real estate agent, maybe May 1st, a couple of days. It get automatically deposited to your bank account, you have no control. Now, some brokerage, however, issue a check, and you have to walk in to pick up the check, and then deposit it into your bank account. So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of measuring stick, to be honest.
Okay.
So to me, I think it's the most accurate measuring stick is the day that that's the closing. That's the day that you are entitled to collect the commission as a real estate agent.
Which makes sense. I think, regardless of if there's, sure, it might take, a few days, in some cases, even a week before you get paid, but that is I guess, really in the end, probably really is the best actual, like you say, the best measuring stick to kind of like define all of this.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you get a check instead of a deposit, auto deposit, some of the people are asking me, hey, like, what if I don't deposit my check? Can I still claim the CRB? Technically, the answer is no. Well, you have the closing date as of that day. If you get from Lone Wolf, you usually get you guys use Lone Wolf, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, you get a statement, commission statement from like the breakdown of every single deal that you did, and it would have a closing day there, and it will show the day that you're eligible to claim. And if you ever get audited, and assuming
that's what they're going to go off of.
Exactly. So how do you know, like, that is the best evidence that I can get. Of course, you can show that your deposit statement. Do you really want to show them all the transactions in your bank account? Sometimes you may not want to show it, right?
Yep. How about, so a lot of real estate agents, we have investment properties.
Yeah.
Does that change things as far as being able to qualify for CERB?
So CRB is completely independent from your rental income. So let's say so whatever I mentioned earlier still apply, but then you may still receive rental income, but you just stop receiving employment income or self-employed income or dividend income from the corporation that you own. Then technically you would still be able to qualify, assuming those rental income is received in personal name.
Okay.
You would still be able to qualify even though you're continuing receiving your rental income.
Okay, awesome. And how about with regards to the Canadian Emergency Business Account, that $40,000 loan that small businesses can get. And I believe it's still, as long as you pay back 75% by December 31st, 2022, they forgive 10 grand.
Yes.
As agents, what type of realtors can apply for that?
As long as you show a payroll of $20,000 in 2019, you would then be able to qualify. Or you're a corporation, you would still be eligible to apply. Now, here is the biggest problem with real estate agents here that I've seen. You guys, a lot of you would qualify to borrow the $40,000 on paper, but the only time, technicality-wise, you need to have a business bank account.
Interesting.
So now, a lot of you, or me, myself, I open a checking account, personal checking account, and that's the end of the story. I don't really, you use that to fund your business because it's dedicated to you.
Yep.
Administratively, nothing's wrong with using that personal checking account. The only problem is that, I know it sounds weird, one of the criteria is that you need to have a business bank account to qualify to apply. And many real estate agents do not have that business bank account. And it poses a problem. Right now, they haven't loosened it out for people who qualify but do not have a business business bank account. So we're still watching. I mean, the policies are changing by the minute. So they may come back and say, no, all these agents are still qualified to apply. You guys, on paper, everything qualify. It's just that small technicality, they're not releasing it.
So then, okay, so let's just say, let's say I didn't have a business bank account and I just operated my real estate business through a personal checking account. However, it really is just a personal checking account that only has my real estate business income and expenses going in and out. If I were to then go to, and let's say I bank at RBC, if I then go to RBC and today I go and open a business bank account, would I then be able to apply for it?
No, the lender would not approve it. It has to have the bank account before March 1st, open before March 1st. I know it's so unfair. To a certain extent, I feel the pain. But right now, they are not approving it because you don't have that business bank account.
When they say if you're a business, you should have a business bank account because it's a way to classify things, right? But
honestly, it's not really that big a deal, to be honest. Who cares, right? A lot of the time, using the personal checking account is a lot cheaper than having a business bank account. But, the whole program, the COVID-19 program, all the programs involved, it forced us as an accountant, as well as all the realtors out there, all small business out there, look at their business differently. Because to apply for the CEBA, the $40,000 loan, you need to have payroll. If you're a brokerage, you pay yourself a dividend, you don't qualify for assuming you don't have any employee, you don't qualify for these programs. And then, which leads us to the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. Same thing. It doesn't, you get nothing. You don't get anything at all other than the $2,000. It kind of sucks.
I guess, but I mean, on the flip side, it's because we had other, let's be honest, paying yourself a dividend versus a wage, the dividend you pay less tax.
Dividend, you don't necessarily pay less tax, but the difference is that you don't contribute to the CPP.
Right.
You don't pay.
Or I guess in the end, it costs you less to collect the dividend. Yeah. So, okay, now regarding the wage subsidy, though, there were two versions of it. When they first came out with, when this first started, it was 10%. There's one, and then now there's a 75% one.
Yep.
Who qualifies for what? Is it now all just the 75% one? Like, what's going on there?
So basically, the 10% one is applicable to pretty much everyone as long as you have a payroll account before March 18th.
Okay.
So even if, for me, I have a nanny, I'm lucky enough to have my nanny helping me out, and she has always been on my personal payroll account, and I would be able to qualify for the 10% subsidy.
Okay.
I'm not generating revenue. I guess I am kind of generating a revenue, but not directly related to her service. But I would still be able to qualify for the 10% subsidy. And the 10% is up to a maximum of $1,375 per employee. So even if you pay that person 100, 200, 300,000, that's only the maximum that you can claim. Now, but then because it's only 10%, the small business community came out and said, hey, it's not working. 10% is nothing. It's not really helping us much. So you need to come up with something. And so after hearing all these public outcry for help, the government came up with this 75% subsidy. Now, this 75% subsidy basically is I wouldn't say government free money. It's the government's help to small business owners who are able to show a decline in revenue for 15% month over month. Now, it gets a little complicated, but I can share with you the way that it's being calculated is that you take your March revenue, March 2020, which is at the beginning of the time that you would see a revenue drop, because for most business anyway, not realtor specific. So March 2020, you see the revenue. And then you look at last year, March 2019, you see the month of March 19 revenue. If you see a 15% decline in revenue, you then would be able to claim the 75% wage subsidy for 2 periods. You automatically qualify for 2 periods.
Okay.
Now, you can alternatively, there is a second measuring stick, is March 2020 compared to average of your January and February 2020 revenue. So they allow you to make that comparison. But once you made that comparison, you have to stick with that way of measuring stick. You either compare with 2019 or you compare with average of January and February. Now, so once you qualify, once you determine that you qualify for March, because I qualify for March, I'm an accountant. The reality is, as soon as the CRA announced, hey, you guys are allowed to extend your filing deadline, everyone drop off from the surface of the earth. They don't want to file their taxes immediately. So my revenue dropped, and I fit in the March criteria. So the way it works is that I would qualify for period 1. What does that mean? Period 1 means that the wage that you pay, the salary that you pay between March 15 and April 11th, I would be able to claim 75% subsidy up to a maximum of $847 per employee per week.
Okay.
So depending on, like, if you pay that employee less than roughly around $55,000, then it is the actual 75% times whatever. But then if you pay that employee, accountants are generally more expensive, so they're way more than the $55,000. Then I would be able to claim a maximum of $847 per week.
Okay.
There is a cap to it. Now, I can qualify to claim 75% wage subsidy in period 1, which is March 15 to April 11th. I automatically get qualified for period 2, April 12th to May 9th, immediately.
Okay.
And I don't need to requalify again for April over April. Now, if you want to qualify for period 3, which is May 10th to June 6th, you need to either qualify for April or May revenue decline. But the revenue decline that you show has to be at least 30% for April or May.
Okay.
So it is a big help in my business anyway, because I'm sure you see public headline, all these airlines are rehiring people, like rehiring them because of this 75% wage subsidy. I have my staff's husband work in this company. They are expecting $2 million from the government. Wow. This is a lot of money we're talking about.
That's huge.
Yeah. Even my small business that I have a few employees, I'm still expecting 5 figures per period. It's a large subsidy that is available if your revenue drops. It helps tremendously, and to me, it's very important. Now, the application is open as of April 27th, 2 days ago. You would be able to qualify to apply right now via your online CRA business account, or you can get your accountant to help you to apply for it.
And so the CRA account, that's just the standard, I think it is called CRA My Business, right? And then there's the
My business
one, which is just, I think it's, I forget what the personal one's called, but.
Yeah, it's my CRA account versus my CRA business account, something like that.
So is there any more talk? I mean, obviously we don't know when this is going to end, this social distancing, quarantine, lockdown, whatever we want to call it. Are we going to go past 3 periods? Are we going to go to 4? Are we going to go to 5? Is that even a possibility? Or is this kind of a like, hey guys, this is what we've done to help. After this, you're on your own?
Yeah, so great question. We don't know. So this basically the Parliament approved Justin Trudeau for 3 periods right now. And they are also saying that they are allowing the government to extend the program, the wage subsidy program, specifically the 75% wage subsidy program, all the way until September without going back for another approval. So they could potentially say, hey, like, we are going to help you until September. We don't know. Now, it's worthwhile mentioning that the CERB program, the $2,000 a month program, is available until September 26th. So, but the wage subsidy is not. So those are the 2 different programs.
Yeah. Interesting. And then do you know if there's been any more conversation like regarding the loans? Have they thought about doing like the $40,000 business loan? Have they thought about increasing that if this gets, you know, worse or goes on for a longer period of time? Is there any more conversations going on?
No, not for the $40,000. They did lower their requirement from $50,000 salary to $20,000. I think a couple of weeks ago. In the past week, the most controversial or the most publicly known program that they released is the commercial leasing program. So it's aimed to help commercial landlords who rent the space to a non-essential service, non-essential service. So what is non-essential service? It could be selling clothing. Clothing is non-essential service. It could be selling, it could be dental service.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah. So those business, their landlord, they can't make money because their store is shut down. So, but real estate is not considered non-essential service, unfortunately, and fortunately for some of you. So you guys would still have to pay the landlord. There is no subsidies available. But for the people who qualify in this regard, they would then be able to, the landlord, together with the help from the tenant, who has to show a revenue drop of at least 70%. Not 30%.
How does so let's just say you're my commercial landlord and I'm operating just say a clothing store. What's acceptable for me to show you as proof of, hey, I mean, obviously if the doors are closed, that's pretty easy, but I mean, could I still be selling online? Like, have they figured out
you can sell online.
Yeah, like, so have they figured out a way of saying, hey, this is an acceptable way of presenting? Is it just, you know, call your accountant, print off the books and show it? Because I mean, because here's the other thing. Maybe me as, you know, Matt, the clothing store owner, maybe I don't want to show my books to you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just had that conversation with a small business owner. We're buying weight from them because all the gyms are closed, right? So closed. So I need to work out at home and I need some help, some equipment. And he's saying, I don't want to show all my bank records to my landlord. How do I help? How does this going to work? So you would be able to still show your sales transaction to your landlord, or not even the sales transaction. You need to be able to show the at least the number Now, whether a landlord, to some tenants, because we're all in real estate, some of you would have clients that are in commercial, commercial landlord, being commercial landlord. So to some landlords, they do require that the tenant to provide their monthly revenue anyway.
Yep.
Some of them is just a requirement. Now, some of them do not have that requirement. And so you will need to either show your sales general ledger or you show a total. Now, you try to start off with like, hey, here is the complete set of total after your bookkeeper has come in and do your book and make sure that at least it is consistent year over year. Close off the book, do the adjustments. Hey, here is my number for the month. Here's the number from prior year. This is a drop of 70%. That should be sufficient. Now, if the landlord insists, hey, like I want a little bit more, I want the sales breakdown by, I don't know, by transaction, then you will then decide whether you want to provide that or not. Or maybe it's just CMHC who's going to administer the whole program, asking for it, then you would want to provide that, because this is also, by providing it, you and your landlord would sign off on a piece of paper saying that, okay, I'm only paying you 25%, you're only paying me as a landlord 25% rent. So you have so much incentive to provide the information,
right? Because
you're only paying a quarter of the rent.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, but then from the landlord side, they also have to agree that they have to absorb 25%, and then the government kicks in 50%.
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
Have you heard how are commercial landlords accepting of that? I mean, are they okay with it? Or are they kind of, like, I don't know if I want to do this? I mean, I would look at it and say, I'd rather keep my tenant and not have them shut up shop for good, but can they even afford to lose that 25%? I don't know.
It really goes back to who's the owner, right? My local played against sports owner, he was telling me that it's unlikely his landlord would apply and agree to waive the 25%. Agree to just get 25% off from them. I've also heard commercial landlords saying, hey, like I've already got the money in April, full pay, and now the government come out and say, hey, I'm giving you this program. So all the tenants expecting the landlord to cut back their rent. And I've heard many people like you saying, hey, I'd rather, because we all know filling a commercial property is not particularly easy in Canada. So a lot of landlords are also saying, hey, like I'm happy to chip in for 25% to keep the small business going. So I've heard a wide spectrum of everything. To me, if I'm the commercial landlord, if I am a commercial landlord, I have one commercial tenant. But to me, I think she is essential service and her revenue hasn't dropped by that much, so we don't qualify to begin with. But if I have a commercial tenant that is running in trouble, I would be happily chip in my 25% because I know it is going to be even harder to fill your unit later on after this whole COVID-19.
Yeah, and I mean, how about I'm just going to throw it out there. Would this apply to, I'm going to say Cadillac Fairview, because Cadillac Fairview, I think they're the largest owner of malls in Canada. Could all of their tenants technically qualify for this? Is it that wide of a program? It really is.
Well, okay. So there is the requirement. The requirement is that your monthly payment for your rent has to be under $50,000. Okay. So if we're talking about Hudson Bay, their month rent is going to be bigger than that, right? If you're talking about Walmart may be different because Walmart pays very little rent. But if you're talking about Longo, the bigger stores, that could be a problem. So it goes back to the situation. And they are saying that for people who are paying more than $50,000 rent per month, they are coming out with a second program.
Oh,
Yeah, but it's
So the
not
spending doesn't stop with the federal government.
no, not at all. No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's very interesting. It almost feels like there is going to be either a huge tax bill coming out of in the future,
Yeah.
or we have to inflate our dollar significantly to pay off the debt. I don't know if you know what I mean, but basically.
Oh, I do, because they're already talking that the Canadian dollar is going to 60 cents and maybe lower. So,
Yeah.
okay, so like, let's talk some economics. I love these types of conversations.
I don't know if I qualify.
And like maybe no, and again, like let's throw it out there. We're not experts on this, but we maybe have a bit of an idea.
Yeah.
Well, how the heck are they going to all of a sudden inflate our dollar? I mean, we're Canada. That's our biggest struggle, is trying to get a strong dollar and then not have our exports get decimated.
It's not possible. So
the problem.
Well, I guess the good news at the same time is that it's not like we are the only country that's printing money, right? The whole world is doing it. It almost feels like if you're not doing it, you're falling behind.
Yes.
So you don't really have a choice. So it would be interesting to see how this whole thing is going to come out in the future, because everyone else is printing money. How is it going to pass it off?
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, if we've all increased our money supply by 25%, it's a wash. Globally, it's a wash and it's irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea, I know. The idea is also, honestly, the idea is also to make sure that your money is parked in the hard assets, in like real estate or gold, or have your business, a small business. So then at least your value, your earning power is still there. If your value drop, I mean the dollar value drop, then you can charge a bit more. So like from that angle, real estate investor or real estate agents, you're very protected, because you're charging based on a percentage of your of the sale price of the house, right? So in that case, in that sense, you guys are more protected. Yeah.
In comparison to some other industries. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
What other programs are out there? I know there's the increased child care benefit. They've increased that, right? Which is it 300?
Yeah, it is $300 per child through the Canada benefit for 2019 and 20. You just all you need to do as a taxpayer is to file your tax on time. When I say on time, it's April 30th, which is tomorrow. For realtors out there who are self-employed, all you need to do is to file it by June 15th for self-employed individuals. Then you can continue to receive your child care benefit.
Awesome. Anything else going on with the government that we should be aware of that might kind of, I guess, help, or, changes that they've made?
There has been some talk. I can go through my list of things that are available to everyone. There's a Gst Tax Credit. Majority of you would not be applicable, because you need to make $60,000 or less to qualify. So, but if you qualify for Gst Tax Credit, it's automatic being deposited to your bank account. Okay. Now, your deadline, real estate agents tax filing deadline is June 15th. No change to it. No change. Still June 15th. Now, your HST filing deadline is June 15th for annual filer. You're still required to do June 15 filing. But your balance is not due until June 30th. Okay. Under normal circumstances, if there is no COVID-19, your balance is due tomorrow, April 30th. But now it's being extended to June 30th. Now, any tax payment or installment that's due now, HST installment in particular, is then being extended to June 30th. You don't have to pay it until June 30th. Now, for income tax payable, by June 15, you file your taxes, you have like $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 owing to CLA. You don't have to pay it until September 1st or August 30th. I don't want to confuse people, because when people hear September, they think end of September is really end of August. So you can file it on time, but you don't have to pay a balance until August 30th. And that's all available to all real estate agents out there.
Awesome.
Now, there are some talks. I think it's really initial talks, but Justin Trudeau doesn't really want to commit to anything about residential rent subsidies. It's so preliminary, so we're not really engaging, following any of that. Like, I've seen some comments about, like, can I get some ideas of residential rent subsidy? It's still in the very early phase, so it's not out there yet. And of course, as real estate investors, you are also allowed to defer some of your payments, interest-free for your property tax and utilities. Now, your mortgage payment on its own, you would still be eligible to defer it if you call your bank, and you can defer it up to 6 months, no question asked. Now, there is some interest impact on the deferred payment, because you're not paying any interest and you're not paying any principal down. The interest is going to continue to accrue during this period. So the additional interest being accrued, together with the interest that's not allowed, that's not paid, would be added to the principal that you owe to the bank at the end. So you just need to remember, by the end of this whole deferral, you are going to get a bigger payment, bigger bill for your mortgage payment.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all the programs available.
I remember hearing this from somebody, and they said that there was a qualification process for the mortgage deferral, and then I heard from somebody else, they said, no, you just called and said you wanted, and they did it. Can you clarify that for anybody who's maybe wondering?
So so far they did not ask any questions.
Okay.
It's pretty automatic. I defer one of my mortgage. I have a few investment properties too. I defer one of the mortgage. It's pretty simple. I email my rep, and then another rep email me back. It's done. If you want to restart paying the mortgage earlier than the 6 months deferral, you can just email them and say, hey, I want to start paying now. You can cancel it anytime. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, Cherry, I want to thank you very much for agreeing to this. I think you have a ridiculous amount of knowledge for us realtors. Truthfully, I think you're probably the best in the industry for sharing it as well. Where can people find you if they are looking for more information?
So I do have a website called realestatetextips.ca, and I do a weekly blog post. Lately, the blog post is surrounding the topic of COVID-19. But I do the investing and also real estate agent tax tips on that site. I also have a free report for whoever that is interested in getting to know more about the COVID-19 subsidy specifically for realtor. So I understand you're going to share the link, but I'm going to share the link here as well.
Perfect.
And then everyone can have access to the website, and then you can go to there, enter your information. You will also get my weekly blog post as well.
Fantastic. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we have, guys. If anybody, I guess let's say, if anybody has any questions, throw them out there. I mean, I think we've answered a lot of them that we had, that I know people had. But if there's anything maybe we didn't cover, I guess before we sign off, I probably should have asked actually before. But if anybody is, on here and you do have a specific question, feel free to throw it up, or as well, I mean, reach out to Cherry. I know you can be found on all social platforms, and on your well, there we go. We're saying there's none from our Facebook Live. So perfect. I guess we've answered the questions that everybody had. Again,
Awesome.
Sherry, I want to thank you very much for joining us and doing this. I really appreciate it. And we're going to make sure that we get all of your information out to actually, I'm going to make sure we get it out to every L-Star member, just in case, you know, some other things do come up. And as well, we're going to make sure everybody has the link to sign up for your download, because it has everything that we need.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for hosting all these.
Thank you. Thanks, Jerry.
Bye.
Bye.